Max Verstappen was left frustrated at Albert Park, while Lance Stroll looked like a rookie all over again. You can now watch full 24-minute episodes of The Inside Line at our official home on unbeaten.com. Red Bull driver Max Verstappen's chances at a second straight title are swiftly evaporating after the 24-year-old Dutchman suffered his second retirement from 3 races, dropping him 5 places and 46 points behind leader Charles Leclerc after just 3 races run, equating to almost 2 wins. Verstappen trailed Leclerc throughout the race in second, but retired on lap 39 of 58 with a fuel leak that forced him to stop out on track, making his shot at a title defense even tougher. "We're already miles behind," Verstappen said. "I don't even want to think about the championship fight at the moment. I think it's more important to finish races." Lance Stroll's credibility took another big dive in Melbourne, with the 23-year-old penalized after qualifying and the race. Stroll, who has competed in 103 Grands Prix and scored 3 podiums, was given a 3-place grid penalty after he caused a collision in qualifying with Williams' Nicholas Latifi, which the stewards blamed on a lack of situational awareness. While in the race, he was handed a 5-second time penalty and 1 penalty point for weaving to keep Alfa Romeo's Valtteri Bottas behind him. "I caught Valtteri after the virtual safety car and made up a place, so it was frustrating to receive a penalty for weaving," he said. Comeback kid Kevin Magnussen says that a maiden podium is possible for Haas this season, but not on pure pace. Haas has been one of the surprises in F1's new era, having jumped back into the midfield. But Magnussen, who spoke with Australian Grand Prix podcast In the Fast Lane, says there's more to unlock.
Haas built a hell of a car this year that, you know, if we're lucky, we might get a podium, I think, at some point in the year. Not that we have a car that is fast enough to drive onto the podium, but, you know, we're probably the best car after the three top teams.
Magnussen also praised his teammate Mick Schumacher, who he says not only deserves to be in F1, but is finally being pushed after a season spent with Nikita Mazepin.
Last year he had a teammate who wasn't really pushing him, so I think it's great that we're now in this situation where we can push each other and, you know, learn from each other, and hopefully we can both start scoring points very soon and get this team in a great position in the constructors.
Alpine reserve Oscar Piastri may have been missing from the Albert Park grid, but the 21-year-old was almost everywhere else, with the Melbourne native doing a pre-event tour of the Garden City. But he soon shed the turf to jump into a kart for a spin around the track that he raced on early in his career. Piastri is gunning for a 2023 F1 seat, but while Alpine looks comfortable running Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon, the brand's CEO Laurent Rossi says Piastri is world champion material, and that he would consider loaning the Australian out as long as he can return to the French squad as a long-term prospect. Piastri is set for an extensive testing program this year, but will also do a number of FP1 sessions in the second half of the season. Former F1 driver Heikki Kovalainen has spoken about the mental torture involved in matching 7-time F1 world champion Sir Lewis Hamilton. Kovalainen paired with Hamilton at McLaren in 2008 and 2009, but says he couldn't keep up with just 1 win over the period, compared with the Brits' 7 and the 2008 crown. "You can only do so much stretching," he said, "and then you run out of energy, and that was the case with me." Kovalainen also paid respect to Hamilton's most successful teammate Nico Rosberg, but stated his efforts to win the 2016 crown almost killed him, forcing his immediate retirement. Echoing Rosberg's comments as he announced his exit.
I didn't leave a stone unturned from Austin last year, really, where I suffered a lot after that loss. And yeah, so I pushed like crazy in all directions, and along with all my, everybody who was involved, which is also my family, a lot of sacrifices. Even my wife, for example, at home. Every time I was home, she understood that I needed to rest, so I never did any nights to take care of our little daughter, Never did any nights, never did any difficult things.
Haas F1 driver Mick Schumacher swapped one wave of momentum for another in Australia, with the German driver heading to a Melbourne surf park to test his reflexes ahead of the race start. The 23-year-old, who is active away from the track with interests in lots of sports, looked natural in the water, having surfed before, and he stood up confidently on the board. With progression throughout his runs, much like in the F1 car.
See, it's something that for sure I can use in my world, and it's just about taking those experiences, trying them out, and seeing if some of it helps, how to prepare and how to, take on the challenge, and that's what I take away from here.
Volkswagen brands Audi and Porsche have put the brakes on announcing their entrances to the sport, preferring to wait until the 2026 F1 power unit regulations have been revealed. The VW Group was set to greenlight the F1 projects last week at a board meeting, but while a short statement confirmed interest, final confirmation is set to come only after the FIA releases the technical details. With the regulations set to outline a more sustainable engine without MGU-H, one that uses e-fuel and more standard parts. This gives our company the opportunity to demonstrate Vorsprung durch Technik in the pinnacle of motorsport, said the statement. Porsche is set to partner with Red Bull Racing, while Audi's plans to take over McLaren have faltered, despite upping its offer from $550 million to 650, with Aston Martin a more likely destination. 1992 F1 world champion Nigel Mansell has paid homage to fellow title winners Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel for being most like him in muscling the car around a lap. Mansell lifted the crown 30 years ago at the Hungarian Grand Prix, with 9 wins in the iconic FW14B. But speaking with F1's official podcast Beyond the Grid, says he still has an eye on the field.
I'm a fan of Alonso and Seb Vettel when he gets in the right car. I mean, how they didn't win Hungary last year, and then got disqualified, I think, for some sort of fuel infringement. I'd love some of the rules to be looked at.
Mansell also rates Sir Lewis Hamilton's teammate George Russell, who beat the multiple world champion to the podium at the last round in Australia with a cheap pit stop under the safety car.
George now has got the opportunity of a lifetime, and I wish him all the best there too. And I think Lewis might be surprised how quick he is too.
Aspiring F1 team owner Michael Andretti is hoping the FIA grants him a spot on the grid from 2024, but is yet to hear anything on its application. Andretti, one of the biggest names in American racing, has been on the hunt for an F1 entry, with a deal to take over Swiss squad Sauber falling through late last year. The American says he is confident he will get the go-ahead, with the team scouting for a UK base, a commitment struck with Renault Alpine for the power units, and preparation work ongoing. We were hoping to know by now, and unfortunately we don't, he said, but we're hoping that it's going to be soon. Andretti Autosport is already competing across multiple series, including IndyCar, IMSA, Australian Supercars, Formula E, and Extreme E. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.